We've all heard that masturbation is something completely normal. But to what extent, how many times a day can you do it without being considered addicted? What happens if you can't stop? Let's address these questions and explain why you should reconsider this seemingly normal act that actually hides a trap for your life. Before we begin, I want to apologize for the exaggerated cover, but it's meant to draw attention to this habit that weakens and harms many of our young people and adults, leaving them without willpower. In this video, you'll understand what happens in our brains, both scientifically and philosophically, and what Stoicism can teach us about this vice and how it affects our thoughts.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel
And activate the bell so you don't miss any updates. Now let's dive in. Modern medicine is quite clear in stating that masturbation is completely normal, not only in humans, but also observed in dogs and other mammals. However, this view of masturbation as normal hasn't always been the case. In the past, masturbation was considered immoral, especially for men, as the unproductive release of semen was believed to prevent reproduction.
For women, it was thought that
Masturbation could keep
them away from men by allowing
them to find pleasure on their own. Along with this moral burden came the belief that masturbation caused physical diseases, so it was not recommended at all. Returning to the present, masturbation is particularly noted among men who suffer from insomnia because it's known to induce sleep. The French Institute of Health and Medical Research concluded that after orgasm, the male brain deactivates sexual desire, with the cerebral cortex responsible for conscious thought entering a state of rest. This not only nullifies the desire to continue sexual activity, but also facilitates sleep, which is why many men fall asleep after intercourse. But what's the problem here? What's bad about it? Within one of its benefits lies a hidden trap, and if you frequent this channel, you know what I'm talking about. Masturbation releases dopamine in your brain, a hormone responsible for making us feel good, bringing calm, stress relief, and a sense of reward. This dopamine release is so pleasurable that some people become addicted. In 2017, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders incorporated a new disorder called hypersexuality disorder, which categorizes excessive masturbation under obsessive-compulsive disorders. This is another vice that leads to mental and, in many cases, familial destruction. You may find it difficult to control yourself, becoming a slave to your desires and a victim of your lack of control, leading to seeking relationships with prostitutes, engaging in sex with multiple partners, and, as discussed in a previous video, excessive consumption of pornography. These are ways that a dopamine-saturated brain seeks pleasure. Pay attention. Addiction to masturbation stems from chemicals released in the brain. As your brain adapts to the release
of these chemicals,
it feels the need to continually seek out what initially caused the stimulation. Your brain will begin to demand more
and more dopamine to achieve the same level of pleasure
as the first time, forcing you to continuously seek out ways to masturbate again. This reaches an extreme when your brain recognizes that the dopamine release is excessive and begins to block receptors in an attempt to stop you. As a result, you may masturbate without getting any pleasure from it, leaving you more frustrated than before. Excessive masturbation to satisfy. That hunger for pleasure is akin to a smoker who never feels satisfied. Someone who eats chocolate until they vomit, or even an alcoholic. At this point, you may wonder what Stoicism has to do with this. Stoic philosophers like Zeno of Citium, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, masters of self-control and wisdom, approached pleasure and lust from a unique perspective. From the words of Epictetus to the intimate thoughts of Seneca, they explored the depths of human passions, a legacy that still captivates us. To the Stoics, masturbation wasn't merely a pursuit of carnal satisfaction, but an opportunity to explore the limits of the body and mind. They viewed it as an exercise in self-knowledge and a path to true freedom. In their philosophy, mastery over passions and worldly pleasures was seen as a conquest that elevated the human spirit. Epictetus affirmed that it's not nights of pleasure, but self-control that distinguishes a man. In this context, the ability to enjoy pleasure by understanding and containing it marks the difference in someone who has reached a higher level of self-awareness. Rather than becoming slaves to our desires, we must become their masters. As Seneca reminds us with his philosophical insights, the Stoic reflection on masturbation isn't merely about repression, but about a profound understanding and mastery of oneself. This translates into the ability to channel our emotions into a journey of conscious self-exploration. It's not just about momentary understanding, but about accepting and embracing our deepest inclinations. From the Stoic perspective, every action has consequences, not only for us, but also for the natural order of the universe. When we allow ourselves to be swept away by our most intense desires, such as uncontrolled masturbation, we lose that harmonious connection with nature. So according to the Stoics, we become prisoners of our desires, distancing ourselves from true inner serenity. Compulsive masturbation can unleash an emotional whirlwind within us, where guilt, shame, and dissatisfaction become constant companions. The Stoics teach us to manage our intense emotions
Through introspection
and self-regulation. By consciously facing our emotions, we learn to manage them in a healthy and constructive way. They encourage us to seek inner peace within ourselves, understanding that true satisfaction lies in self-control and the ability to find joy in the simple and virtuous.
Let me share a personal,
Inspiring story. I know someone who used to struggle with compulsive masturbation, seeking momentary refuge and pleasure, but facing an emotional storm after each act, after immersing themselves in Stoic teachings and practicing self-control and self-regulation. This person experienced a profound transformation. They learned to consciously face their desires and emotions, finding true joy in self-control. Now they live a life of inner peace and authenticity, free from the bondage of momentary desires. True satisfaction comes from living in accordance with our principles and deepest values. When we allow ourselves to be led by fleeting desires, we lose sight of what we truly value in life. Compulsive masturbation can distance us from our most noble purposes, happiness found in virtue and inner peace. By practicing meditation,
and mindfulness
we can cultivate the mental serenity,
necessary to resist
temptations, and confront our emotions in a healthy way. Compulsion becomes an obstacle to mental serenity, dragging us away from the peacefulness found in self-control and moderation. Hit that subscribe button. Your support and engagement are what make our channel thrive. Keep watching, keep learning, and keep growing. Thank you.